Welcome to Secrets from a Billionaire's Matchmaker with matchmaker Gina Hendrix.
Hey there, Gina Hendrix here, your favorite matchmaker. Oh, I love to talk about love and dating and matchmaking and men and women and what we do right and wrong. But today, specifically, we're talking about how to communicate your pace when it comes to physical intimacy without feeling like you have to over explain yourself. Something I hear from women all the time is, I like this guy, but I don't want to move too fast physically. So, how do you handle that situation? Today, we're going to mix it up. I have my special guest, Matt Boggs, who has a huge following, and he's all about cracking the man code. That is his thing. Okay. And so I am going to mix it up today. So you're going to hear my interview with Matt Boggs mixed in with questions from my ladies. And Matt's going to share what men actually respect when a woman communicates clear standards. And also, as you know, just reminding you, I'm always protecting everybody's privacy. So you'll hear things that feel like they're blurred out because they are blurred out. I'm protecting everybody's privacy. And if you ever want to join me live, email us at teamgina@ginahendrix.com and then get your questions ready. And you can always email them to us too. But if you want to start joining in my live power hours so that you can be one of these ladies that asks these questions and gets my real response, then always feel free to email us. Okay, what are we waiting for? Let's do this and get into this first question.
In a place in my life where I don't want to have a physical relationship with a man
Correct.
I don't
Yes.
really know and trust, because
agree.
I am worth protecting my feelings. And that's something where before I was not as protective of myself, and I would do more things to have the relationship be good for the guy. But then it left me in a really vulnerable place.
I think that you should, for those women that want to sleep with somebody right away or they feel like they don't get attached, great, do that. As long as you're not going to get your feelings hurt. The majority of women sleep with men and move that along to more of the sexual intimacy part because they think it's going to advance the relationship. But men don't work that way. Men can kiss you, make out with you, have sex with you. And you're not advancing their feelings for you. You're not advancing anything. They're disconnected in that way. So for as a woman, we should protect ourselves because even me, if I were going to get intimate with somebody, I would have to tell them, hey, listen, this is fun and great, and I'm totally attracted to you. But I'm not going to there's a line where I'm not going to have sex or be intimate in that way until I'm in a committed relationship. And I'm going to round this conversation out. This is a full conversation with a guy, I would say. And, and I'm not saying that you're the one or we should be exclusive. I'm not saying any of that. I don't know you that well yet. I want to take some time. My point is I want to take some time to get to know you, because when I do sleep with someone, I want it to be an exclusive, authentic relationship, which takes time. And you just tell him that, and you don't ask his permission, and you don't say, how do you feel about that? That is your statement. And then he can do with that what he wants. I find that if a man is truly into you and he likes you more, sees more potential than just sex, he's going to stick around. He's going to invest his time. But for those guys that just see this as a one and done or a quick conquest, they are not going to stick around. And that's great. You have now just pre-qualified quickly, like I like to do.
And also in terms of, the sexual side, some men will be with a woman for the great sex, and it could seem like a real relationship to the woman while it's mostly a sexual relationship to the guy. And depending on where the guy is in his life, like if it's somebody that's kind of divorced and not really looking to be to get married again or to live with someone again, the relationship could just be about sex for them, but it could be about a whole relationship for the woman. So that's something where it's tricky. And then when I've said that to men about waiting, I've made it sound like it's about me. And it's not always good to own things and say it's about you, but to say what you want. Because like I said, I get too attached, but that's almost giving because you don't really know the guy. You don't know what they're going to do with that vulnerable information about you. And it also makes you seem like a woman that might be too icky poo. Like, I like this, I don't like that, I want it this way, like, but like when you say, I want to wait until we get to know each other better before it becomes physical. And you could leave it like at that, because that might be all they need to know. Like,
yeah, I think sometimes we feel like we have to over explain and keep, and I think there's a point where we just need to stop talking. We just tell them, hey, listen, I'm looking for, an authentic relationship, and it takes time to get to know somebody. And, and that's what I'm waiting for. And that's it. That's a statement. It's not like, and how do you feel about that? I hope that's okay with you. Let me know what you think. No, 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 no. You just tell him how you feel. He'll tell you how he thinks or feels about it regardless. But, and in that moment, he may go along with it. And I've had scenarios probably where that's happened when I didn't know better. If I look back on young Gina, and he'll go, oh, sure, I totally. And then but he's still trying to push the boundary. His words have said that, oh, sure, I agree. Oh, yeah. But then his actions are still pushing the boundary as if he didn't hear the words. And then he's telling you with his actions that he cares more about what he wants than what you want. You know what I mean? You want somebody who listens to you and understands and respects. And again, it does take time to get to know somebody. All right, ladies, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Let's bring on my special guest, Matt Boggs. He's a best-selling author of Project Everlasting and the creator of Cracking the Man Code. As a highly sought-after dating coach and relationship expert, Matt has appeared in national media ventures such as the Today Show, CNN, Headline News, Oprah and Friends, ABC, as well as shared the stage with industry leaders such as John Gray, who I've had here with me a couple either last time or the time before, I can't remember, Allison Armstrong, Ariel Ford, and many more. Matt, tell these ladies, what should they do if they want to get into a long-term relationship?
If you're wanting to get into a long-term relationship with a man, now, if you're not, you just want to have fun, then choose whatever you want. But if you want a long-term relationship with a man, save sex until after he is emotionally committed to you to be in a monogamous relationship. Because there's something that happens in a man's biochemistry that's different than a woman's biochemistry. And again, these are generalizations, so there's always exceptions to the rule. Yeah. But generally speaking, after he emotionally commits and then he sleeps with you, the love deepens. All the attachment hormones increase. But the crazy thing is the opposite happens.
I just saw your video on that. I loved it. Yes.
So if you sleep too early, if he hasn't emotionally committed to you and you guys sleep together, all his attachment hormones plummet, which is why men pull away. And the challenge is many women, your attachment hormones skyrocket. So it's the opposite experience. And that becomes very painful. So save sex till after he's emotionally committed and you are emotionally committed. Irene did that, and I did that. Together, we were, that was what we chose to do.
I will say, one thing the ladies seem to get confused about are their boundaries around sex and when to have sex.
Ladies, you control the sexual pace of the relationship. Let him control the emotional pace and make sure that they are aligned. So in other words, you're not having sex until he's emotionally connected to you and willing to commit. And he's talking to you about it. So this is about you having, so how do you know if you're emotionally open and available? The number one thing is he's verbalizing, I don't want to see anybody else. I just want to see you.
Right.
He's verbalized that. He's asking you for that. Number two, you have a shared vision for what you both want. Maybe not even with each other yet. But and it's a clear vision. He sees himself married. He sees himself living with somebody, sharing space. And you have your vision, he has his, and they're aligned. Number three, you guys have talked about your values. We go vision and values. You've talked about what you value most. And you guys are aligned on your most important values on faith and family and fitness and health and how you spend your time, all of those things that matter to you, the relationships, the way you want to communicate. You guys align on those things. And then once you are through those layers, you'll know whether or not he's emotionally available, he's leaning in. Because the other thing that you see, this isn't something that I believe you can really get done in 6 weeks. And some women are like, what? I gotta wait. But because what you need is you need consistency over time, because anyone can talk a good game for 6 dates.
Right. True.
But what you want to see consistency over time, because the avoidant attachment style is real. And what that is somebody love bombing you, being the best boyfriend you've ever had for 6 weeks. And the moment things get really emotionally intimate, where the two of you are going to say, like, I love you, is that they will freak out and they will pull back because they have an old wound, usually their mom or dad who wasn't there for them. And they never healed it. They never dealt with it. And so anytime something gets too close, that old wound triggers. They don't even know this. They're not even conscious of this. And they'll find all kinds of faults and reasons with the relationship, and they're out and they just shut down.
I had a woman that was in my program, and she met this guy, and he was different than any other guy she had dated previously. But he, every time they'd go out, he'd make a date for the next date and the next date, and it went really fast. And I think after like 4 or 5 dates, he wanted to be exclusive. And I said, I think you need to slow this thing down. But he kept showing up and he kept asking for exclusivity, and well, and finally she gave in, slept with him, got exclusive, and then exactly what you're saying happened. So can you just give us the actual words? Because I'm giving the ladies all the time words and certainly things to say, but I'd love your perspective and give them the actual words to on how to communicate their boundaries.
There's a big part of me that would love to kiss you right now. And I'm reserving that for when, and then speak your standard. So if it's a kiss, say, there's a big part of me that would love to kiss you right now. And I'm reserving that for when I've been on a few more dates with somebody and you know each other better.
Right.
Or I would love to sleep with you, or I would love to sleep with you. However, I'm reserving that for when we're both in a monogamous relationship and we both can feel like we love each other.
Okay, so Matt, hang on just a second. We're going to get back to you because you have such great things to say. But let me take this question because I think we're all going to enjoy it.
At what point do you think it is appropriate for a woman over a certain age to offer to start paying for dates? Like dinner, I think like dinner, not an escort, but dinner or, whatever.
Oh, I knew what you meant. An escort. That's hilarious. We're taking this show on the road, folks. I don't really think that a woman should be paying for dinner, to be honest with you, unless maybe you're dating the guy and you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. When it's a relationship, then it's like you guys should be doing, kind of for each other, but it depends on the nature of the relationship because I know plenty of women who are dating as one of my guys, and I can't even imagine her ever paying for anything. I can't imagine. I mean, offering is nice, offering never hurts, manners and offering, but I wouldn't even offer in the very beginning. But if you've gone on, several dates, like, hey, can I get the drinks? Or, hey, can I get the dessert? Or, you can always offer and then he'll say yes or no, but never be pushy about it. Never say, hey, I'm treating tonight. I've got dinner, because you can do for him in other ways. Like you can say, hey, you know what? You've always wanted to go to that. You mentioned this, like you love this baseball team or whatever. I got us tickets. You can do things like this. You can do other things for him that's not overtly like, I'm taking care of our dinner date tonight type of thing. Let him lead. I know it sounds old fashioned, but I can't help it. That never changes about the dynamics between men and women for the most part. Okay, so Matt, let's dive more into the minds of men.
A man's greatest desire is to have his thoughts respected. The other side of that coin is his greatest fear, and that is inadequacy. So what will happen is men, if they don't feel adequate, are more than happy. In other words, adequate meaning this: if you ask him to plan a date or you ask him to do a particular task and he does it, and it's met with criticism or feedback that it just didn't hit the mark, feedback that it wasn't quite enough, and that happens enough, what'll happen is every man will slip back into, okay, I want you to be happy is his highest operating system in a relationship.
Yeah.
And so for you to be happy, then you do it. Like you plan the date. You do this stuff. I will do whatever you tell me to do so that way I can ensure that you're happy. And he will gravitate into this rut of feminine following energy rather than the masculine leading energy. So the way because he doesn't want to feel inadequate. And the challenge is that one of the attributes of feminine energy is collaboration, cooperation, and improvement. And so while often, and again, these are these are generalizations, not everybody falls into this, but you'll watch this. If one of the tendencies is to make things better all around you, its contribution is one of the feminine tendencies. Well, a contribution to make things better often is feedback about what's not right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
take that as criticism. Criticism will shut the masculine energy down. And this is where the challenge comes. Two things. Number one is we've got to lean back to anchor into your feminine energy like Irene did. Irene could have saved the day and told me where she wanted to go, but she needed two things. She needed the patience to lean back and allow, and then she needed the trust. She had to trust that I was going to pick something that was good enough for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It maybe wasn't going to be her favorite place. Maybe, I mean, we drove a long ways to get to this place out in Huntington Beach. Maybe she was like, there was a sushi place just down the street, but she let me drive all the way to Huntington Beach. It was like a 40-minute drive for this experience. And so it means releasing control of how an outcome gets done. I've literally seen this flip. I was at a week-long seminar. A couple, the guy had completely shut down. And so I told the wife, I said, he needs to be filled up with knowing that you still believe in him, that you still see him as capable in certain ways. So tonight, before you go to bed, I said, when was the last time you gave him any kind of appreciation or like compliment for something he did? And she was like, Matt, it's been months. Like they hadn't slept together in months. He's out of work for a year. So that had really degraded the relationship. She said that night, I said, here's your job tonight. Is give him 3 compliments, things, compliment his character, things that you really admire or respect about him. The next day, she came right up to me. She was like, Matt, you would have thought that I had like some superpower. She goes, I gave him 3 compliments about things that I saw in him. He had been shut down for months. At first, when he looked at me like he didn't know if I was kidding, because I haven't been very nice to him lately. But then I gave him 2 more and I told him why. And it was like he completely opened up and he shared about his dreams and things that were happening. And they had a deeper connection that night than they had had in months. And so this is the formula to begin to re-spiral upward the masculine feminine dynamic and invite him into the masculine. It requires you to be solid enough in your feminine to create space enough for him to step into his masculine.
So you had a question about texting and that first phone call, right?
If you're speaking to somebody on the app and then you're speaking on like texting on the phone and maybe there's a date set up, should we not expect them to text us every day until the date?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that at all. I mean, everybody
Okay.
has a different communication style.
Because
And
I
Yep,
got a
go
little
ahead.
nervous because we had set something up, last Wednesday for this Thursday, and then still from yesterday, I hadn't heard from him. So I didn't really want to, text him again, but I just said, oh, I'm, firming up my plans for the weekend. Just wondering if we're still on for Thursday. And he
And you
said,
said,
yes, absolutely.
great. And you sent him that when?
Yesterday.
Yeah, and yesterday was Monday. Yeah, I mean that's perfectly fine because I tell you ladies, because I know how you guys are, and if you're not hearing communication, especially if it's like the day before and you're just dying to know, you know, there's no harm in double checking, and it puts your mind at ease. So for that reason, I say absolutely. If you're wondering, I mean, I would have said probably wait till today or tomorrow even. But whether it was yesterday or today or tomorrow, it's not going to make a difference. But the difference it does make is it puts your mind at ease. So that's a good thing. Has he given you the details of the date yet? Where you're going, time, or anything like that?
No, but he did say that he would pick a restaurant in my town. He
Perfect.
lives about 20 minutes away.
And have you done a phone call with him?
Not yet, no.
Oh, you never want to go meet anybody without a phone call.
I always meet without the phone call. I've never
And this is
heard of
why you're
that.
here. And this is why you're here working with me now, right? To do things differently.
Uh-huh.
Never meet them without a phone call. Because here's the thing.
Oh,
Do you really want to make the time, get dressed up, and do all that it requires, and then go and figure out something where if you've done, a 15-minute 20-minute, at the most 30-minute, whatever phone call, then you would have known it wasn't the right match?
I sometimes I get nervous to do a phone call because I feel like if there's not going to be chemistry, then I would rather know in person. What know if there's going to be chemistry or not on the phone call.
I think why wouldn't you rather know if there's chemistry on a phone call and save yourself so much time and effort?
So if he didn't suggest to have a phone call, then I don't know how to go about that. I don't want to suggest it myself.
Yep. So you have not read my book, The Great Manhunt.
I guess I didn't finish it. No, I'm very, very busy, unfortunately, but I will.
You got to do the work. I'm going to put your feet to the fire here. You know what I mean? Because I care deeply and I want you guys to really get the help you need. But it's sort of like, and women will hear me say this, like you hire a chef to make this, delicious dinner, but then you tell the chef, well, I want to change up the recipe. I don't really want you to use the same recipe. You know what I mean? Then it's not going to, the dish isn't going to, right? And I know you're a smart woman. I can see that in your energy. So yeah, so let's just make sure you read my book, because that'll tell you like even how to say, because if I were you, I mean, so if we were having this conversation before you had ever reached out to him yesterday, I probably would have said, hey, I think a good idea would be, well, first of all, what you do on the dating apps, and you'll read this in my book, and I'm just going to recap it for my other ladies, is you do, 3-4 back and forth messages, and that's it. But at some point, 3-4 messages, if you guys are still chatting and stuff, then you would say, hey, it might be better to get to know you on a phone call, or it might be better to have a quick chat. What do you think? And you put it to them, okay? And then he comes back and says, sure, men would love to get on phone calls, right? They'd love it, but they don't know if it's going to turn a woman off. Men are a little confused these days. So you got to lead them a little bit, because there's so many ways to do things. Some women like things, some women don't. So these guys are nervous sometimes. So you just say, hey, what do you think? And then he'd go, sure, I'd love to get on a phone call. He'll usually give his number, but then that's where you come back and you say, and this is literally the formula, and you say, oh, actually, I prefer if you call me. Here's my number, boom, boom, boom. And I prefer you guys always have a Google phone number, ladies. And then you have to say this final line, let me know when I can expect to hear from you. And if you've already made a plan and now you're just finding out, Gina says I should get on a call, it might be a good idea, phone call and chat first. I guarantee you, if you say that, he's going to be like, oh, yes, 99.9. The only men that don't want to get on a phone call is there's something weird about that. How about the early stages of dating? Because that's what we deal with a lot around here.
All right. In the early stages of dating, when you're building attraction and you're deepening connection in the relationship, I believe in the power of polarity. I've experienced it. I believe it absolutely exists, whether we want to ignore it or not. And that's that masculine and feminine energy attract one another. Now, the irony is that's every one of us has both masculine and feminine energy. It's not about you're a man, you're a woman, you only have one or the other. We all operate with both, but we get to decide which one we want to lead with, whether we want to lead out with masculine or lead out with feminine. And so the reason I bring that up is if you're early in the dating phase, feminine energy is all about creating invitations for the masculine to lead and then receiving. Feminine energy is receptive energy. Masculine energy is providing energy. And so in the feminine, in that state, what you're saying is you've got a need, something that you would love. Then the best way to get that need met is direct communication in the form of a request. Like, hey, I'm really craving some one-on-one time together. Or I would really love to hang out with you this weekend. Would you plan a date for us? And then ask the masculine, ask whoever you're dating to step up and provide you with whatever it is that you want. Now, he may do that or he may not. But your job in the beginning of the dating is simply to observe. Is this guy going to meet you where you are? One major mind-blowing topic about communication is the fact that very few people have learned the differences between needs and strategies in relationships. So when I'm talking about needs, we all have needs in relationships. Think about it this way, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The lowest level is the need for safety. You know, you have water, you have food, you have shelter, you have survival safety. But as you move up, the very top level is like full self-actualization. And then in between, you have all kinds of needs for connection, the need for validation, the need for understanding, the need for adventure and variety, the need for rest, all of these things. Well, the challenge is that most people don't know that what their need is compared to the strategy that they have. And what they'll do is they'll get real attached to a strategy. I'll give you an example. Last week, I had worked all day, sat at the desk doing interviews and whatnot all day, and I didn't work out in the morning, so I really felt like my body needed exercise. And so the need was my body needs to move. My strategy was I want to go for a run. So I go downstairs. My wife, we've been married 14 years. My wife's like, hey, I really want to talk to you. I've been with the kids all day. Like, I really want to connect with you. And I said, okay, great. I really got to go for a run right now. I got to move my body. And she's like you're getting off work late and now you're going to go by yourself for a run. And so she had a need for connection. And what she wanted to do, the strategy was to sit together and to talk. So to know that, okay, her need is, she's really getting attached to sit down and talk to me. And I'm like, I don't want to sit and talk to you. Like, I just want to go for a run. And so most people get into arguments because their strategies don't match.
Fair enough. That's
when
right.
realizing that, oh, well, my need is to move my body. Your need is to connect. What if we do both? Would you be willing to go for a walk with me? Like, can we go for a walk and talk? Like, that's really what my body needs. And she's like, oh yeah, that would be great. So we ended up going for a walk. I was able to move my body. We were able to connect in the way that she wanted. And it was like problem solved. Where so many people explode because they misinterpret their strategy as the core need. But when you get to the core need, like, everything shifts. And so being able to communicate with somebody and how you want to be loved, how they want to be loved, what the vision you have for your future, how you navigate when there are unmet expectations is huge. When I was starting out, I was really struggling in love and had a bunch of patterns where I was experiencing the same thing over and over again. And the one common denominator in all those relationships was me. So I wanted to try to figure out, why am I recreating these patterns? Because you could have put anybody, you could have put my match in front of me, and my old pattern way of being would have repelled that person.
Or no.
And so part of the journey was I wanted to learn from couples who had really walked the talk and lived the journey. And so my best friend and I interviewed America's Greatest Marriages. We jumped in an RV, drove 12,000 miles as bachelors, and interviewed couples who've been married over 40 years for what their insights were around what makes love last. And what I learned, and then subsequently speaking on stages and hearing other amazing relationship therapists and authors talk about polarity and masculine and feminine energy and all of that, it began to just completely crack me wide open. The whole idea of, I didn't know what my attachment styles were. I didn't know about self-love. I didn't know of the self-image limiting beliefs that I had had. And so I started to do all of that work, and it completely changed my life. So there was a woman who signed up for a coaching program with me. It's an amazing 69-year-old woman. And she was like, Matt, I'm going to be the toughest case you've ever had. There's only one tiny percent of me that believes it's possible. 99% of me doesn't believe it's possible, because for me, I'm not going to move out of Nanaimo. It's a small little town in Canada. She goes, I'm lived here, born here. I'm going to die here, not moving out. And I want a man who lives here. I know every man here. The guy doesn't exist. She goes, I'm an environmentalist, grow my own food, solar heated showers. I ride my bike everywhere possible to reduce my carbon footprint, and I will not budget on those values. And so I want a man that has all those values, and he's got to be super smart. She was like a scientist. He's got to be super smart. And at my age, good luck.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, so I focused in on the one corner of her mind that was believing. And so I said, just to have fun with her, I was like, all right, well, what else? Those are good. What else? What would you really love? Like, let's say I gave you a magic wand. What would you really love? Well, like, what really turns you on in a man? And she had no one's ever really asked her that, because everyone thought, oh, you're being too picky and no, you're never going to have what you want. So she goes like, oh, and she goes, well, I've never told anybody this, but what I would really love is a man in a kilt, because I think Scottish men are so hot. Like, that kilt is so sexy. I love that. I've never heard anyone say that. I was like, done. Great. Okay. So now I'm not a matchmaker. I'm helping people just find it on their own, right?
Right.
You do the matchmaking. So we started the process, and more of her began to believe in the possibility that this guy existed. Still a big part of her doubted, but she began to do the things that begin to coordinate all the connections that have to happen for him to come into her life. One day, I get an email. I may have just met him. And so she writes, he doesn't live in Nanaimo, but he was born here and wants to move back. He's a mathematician, super smart, grows his own food, solar heated showers, rides his bike everywhere. He's more of an environmentalist than I am. They go on some dates, fall in love. He proposes. And then on their wedding day, she said she is in the dress with the flowers, ready to walk down the aisle. And she turns the corner to walk down the aisle. And Ian is at the end of the aisle wearing a kilt. They had had a 7-month romance. She never asked him if he was Scottish. And she was like, I totally forgot about the kilt thing. She goes, Matt, I almost fainted in the aisle. She was like, we just got married. She goes, I just turned 70 years old, but I feel like I'm 25 again. There are no one-sided coins. Every coin has two sides. So knowing that we don't have to be perfect to find our match. That's not what it's about. But it's about leaning more into the idea of, because you've got the desire, that longing, that feeling for love, that is evidence of love's possibility. And so stay more connected to that idea. Stay open, stay in the energy of, oh, he right now is looking for you. Like, if you've got that energy for love, he's out there. He's wondering where you are, Kate. He's like, I can't wait to find my woman. And so as you hold that space, and then you say yes to opportunities that come your way, to explore those, knowing that every opportunity leads you further in the direction of that love relationship, you will absolutely find the relationship that you want.
So I will say, to cut to the chase, so you can follow him if you're not already at Matt Boggs on YouTube. You have quite the following. And then now this Brave Thinking Institute, is it yours, or you do it with somebody, or is it all yours?
It's a family business. I am one of the co-founders. My mom, actually, her name is Mary Morrissey, originally founded this institute, and she's a thought leader in the spiritual space. And as I was launching my love and relationships coaching business, she said, this was 15, 16 years ago. She said, look, we could do them separately, or we can combine forces. And so we decided to combine forces, and it's a beautiful institute for personal transformation.
Oh,
So
wow.
we coach people, but we also train and certify coaches as well inside that institute.
Wow. Well, I mean, listen, your stuff, everything's impressive. I've been doing a deep dive on you, and you have so many things that you talk about under the relationship umbrella, and you try kind of similar. I mean, I think you and I have similar beliefs in that, similar advice for women, yet I come at it not only from a matchmaking perspective, but sort of through the eyes of the men I've worked with, and in that what they tell me. But then I think, what's interesting, I find too about you, you're a married man with two daughters, and
Yeah,
you wrote a book. Didn't you guys travel around interviewing men that were specifically married or just in relationships?
we
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've been an amazing guest. Thank you, Matt. Matt, you are so fantastic. I would marry you if you weren't already married. I think I can agree that the ladies really enjoyed having you here, answering so many great questions. And I think, man, I feel grateful that you were here with us. So thank you so much. Ladies, just remember, you've got to keep your standards high. And I think, when a guy comes along, and this is what I've seen happen with so many great women, you just lower your standards. You forget how to talk to them clearly, and the way you communicate is how you set your boundaries in place, okay? And when you ask him questions and he doesn't give you the answers you want to hear, or things still seem unclear, keep asking the questions, because you deserve everything that you want. You're fabulous. So many fabulous ladies out there. And I hope that Matt's perspective has only solidified what I'm always telling you, because everything I talk about is also from the minds of men. So this is going to wrap up this episode. And if you guys want to ever join me for a live power hour, just email me. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Eventually, I'm going to be doing co-ed. So bring it on. You can get on the list. Team Gina at ginahendrix.com. Also, I have different coaching programs available for ladies so that I can get my hands on you, level you up in every single way, because this is insider intel from the minds of men that every woman needs. Every woman needs, she says humbly. All right. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Want to keep up with more of Gina's advice? Follow her on TikTok and Instagram at Matchmaker Gina Hendrix, or visit her matchmaking website, ginahendrix.com.